All right, hello everybody, and welcome to the Bendominator Podcast. This is episode 14 of the podcast, and it's a very special episode today because we are being joined by Directing Pete. Welcome to the podcast.
Hey Ben, how's it going?
Good, good. I'm so happy that you agreed to do this, and I'm glad you're here. And
Of course.
I think,
Yeah, thank you.
yeah, I think a lot of people are going to be excited for this episode, and I'm definitely excited to do this episode with you. So yeah, again, thank you so much for being on the podcast. And to anybody who's unfamiliar, to the 1% of people who don't know who you are, go ahead and give like an introduction about yourself and what you do.
All right. Well, first off, I just want to say congratulations on currently being featured, at least at the time of the recording of this
Thank
podcast.
you. Yeah, thank you.
And I just want to say that's a huge feat. And I'm so incredibly proud of you right now. And like, just seeing all your work and everything has come so far since I first started
Yeah,
following you. So.
I appreciate it so much.
Yeah, of
Thank you so much.
course. And a little bit about me. So I work. I've been doing YouTube for about 2 years now. Wow, it will be 2 years in October. And for those who don't know me, I'm a Fortnite Creative map player. I was featured on the block back when it was in game in chapter 1, season 7, and season 9. I came back for they came back in season 9,
Oh wow.
and it was really exciting. Yeah, so I was on the block twice. It was the same block. They just brought it back twice, but
Yeah,
it was an amazing experience. And since then, I found myself doing a lot of tutorial videos to show people how to make amazing maps on their own, and also, doing some of my own creations as well.
yeah. Yeah, I knew you were on the block, which was a really cool thing to find out. I remember when I first saw your channel, I was like, "Oh wow," because I remember that block being like one of the first ones they did, and that was a
Yeah.
really cool one. And then I didn't
Yeah,
even
it
know
was
that they
really
brought it
awesome.
back again, so that's really cool to see.
Yeah, they
And
brought it back. I think honestly what it was is they were there was this one, like, they extended the season. You know how they do that
oh
sometimes, and it
yeah,
wasn't expected. So I don't think they had any blocks
yeah.
planned. So they brought back like three, I think just three that they liked. So
Hmm.
I was one of the three.
That's
So
awesome.
I'm definitely not complaining.
Yeah, yeah, that's really cool. Uh,
Yeah, so it was really nice.
yeah. So yeah, it's been a while since they've done the block too, because I remember they didn't bring it back for chapter 2, and I'm curious to know why they stopped doing it. I guess
So
doing the featured things in general must be so overwhelming for them anyway, because
yeah.
the whole process, I can tell how hard they worked to get all that stuff running, and
Absolutely. I think a lot of it had to do with when Creative was first out, they didn't have things like turning drops off, or not
yeah,
drops, but like doing Origin Center versus like not. And so when you used to be able to break down a building in the old version of Fortnite Creative, the whole building would collapse. There's no way
yeah,
around that. And so build to prop being off was a default. Now, I think that's a huge reason why they got rid of it, because there'd be so much like meta they'd have to change for each block if the person screwed up their build,
yeah.
that I think that had a lot to do with it. But yeah, it's incredible to have had that opportunity. I'm really bummed they don't bring it back, but doing a mini block on my BR, I realize why
Yeah, it's
and how much work it is. So
I still commend you so much for doing that. That was a really cool thing for the creative community as a whole, which
yeah, I just thought it was fun to do. It was, so many people were like, I want the block back. I
yeah,
was like, you know what? I'm gonna bring it back in my mini BR, or in my BR, and it's gonna be fun. And I knew it was gonna be stressful, but my
yeah.
goodness, I did not realize how much work it was.
I yeah, I think your hard work definitely paid off for sure though, because it was a lot. It was very
Yeah,
exciting just to see every week just all these different cool creations from the community. I was just consistently blown away by all the cool things people were making.
right? Yeah, I'm continuously blown away by the community every day. Like,
Yeah.
I know you create amazing stuff, and it blows me away. And I think everyone is uniquely their own creator. And so like I'm not a big fan of people comparing maps or anything like that, because everyone has such a unique um difference to their maps. Like, your maps have a very Bendominator feel.
For
I feel
sure.
like My directing Pete maps have my feel. Other big creators, they have their own taste and feel to their maps that makes it their own, which I think is really
Yeah.
incredible.
Everyone has their own style, which I think is
Yeah.
really, really cool. Especially when you get into big things like Royale is, especially with Royale, it's more of a thing with like multiple different people. Because of course I work on the map, but then you got all the other people that help work on it, as well as like Advil and Swirls and stuff. And you can see
Oh
with
wow, I didn't
each,
know that you had
yeah,
like a team.
and with each person, you can really tell like each of their creative styles if you go around the map, all these different areas. Like each one has kind of their own feel to it. Because and I've talked about this on the podcast before, but everyone has their different style of building, and I personally think it's really cool to just see people come together and work together and make things
Yeah.
really cool. And
That's
yeah,
incredible, especially if you have a great team like that.
yeah,
I've been working really closely with a build team. I think you may have heard we
yeah,
started to work. I'm trying to form one right now.
mm-hmm,
It's going to be, I'll tell you the name of it here. You can have the debut name of
yeah.
the build team. It's
You
going to
heard it here
be,
first.
yeah, you heard it here first. It's going to be Omega Creations, kind of a play off the Omega Pyramid,
Oh yeah,
but it's a group of us. The group is, you may know the names Frost, R Cape, and
yeah,
Rusty. So it's going to be and Bee's Knees. That's going to be the group of five. So
yeah.
it's going to be great. I'm excited for it. There's going to be some big maps coming out from us in the future, and it goes right back to what you're talking about, though. It's like as creative grows, it's hard to be a one man band or
Mm-hmm,
one woman band. You have to have a team. And you don't have to have a team. That's not where I'm going
yeah,
with it. But it helps. It just helps to have
definitely.
different ideas and especially when you're trying to outdo yourself and you're trying to keep like pushing forward with YouTube and everything else you're doing. You want to always try to like, how do I get to the next level?
Yeah, collaboration is a huge thing. I
So
again
big.
talked about it a bunch on the podcast, but just I working with a team definitely you don't have to do it, but I think when you do it, it definitely helps for a bunch of reasons. Of course, everybody's different or good at different things, and just I'm just excited to see what your team ends up doing, just because all of those people you mentioned, including yourself, are good at creative on their own, but seeing them all come together to form something just makes it so much better. I feel like so.
Yeah.
It's going to be
Yeah.
really exciting to see what
I'm
comes of
really
that.
excited to see where this goes. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, super super excited, especially just because the entire creative community. I'm just so happy to have been a part of it because my channel isn't really considered a creative channel, at least in my opinion. I do make more videos about like battle royale, but just Brim Royale kind of has pushed us into the creative space, and I'm so glad to have you kind of be a big welcoming factor into that. I feel like you've kind of
Well,
helped
thank you.
welcome me into the community a lot, along with a bunch of other
Absolutely.
people. So
I'm a big fan of yours and I think you make some amazing work and I'm always going to push you forward.
yeah, I appreciate that so much. So thank you for that.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I did want to talk about a little bit just because I remember the first time I found you was around the time I started making content, which was almost a year ago at this point. Uh, because the first video I ever made was a skin review of the Axo skin, which has become kind of an icon for my channel. And
Yeah, absolutely.
we're coming up on the anniversary of that skin being released
Whoa.
officially. I
Yeah,
think
that's
it's like
cool.
August 14th or something around that time. And so I've been making videos for almost a year now, at least on Fortnite. And I remember
Well,
I found
happy
your
one
channel
year.
around that time, and we I think I uploaded a trailer for one of our maps, Journey to Kevin, and I remember seeing your comment on that video, and I was like, whoa, I know this guy, and I think that was truly the start of kind of getting into the creative space a bit more,
Oh, that's
and
awesome. That's awesome that you know, we all start somewhere, right? And
exactly.
I think I remember when we were talking, you're under 1,000 followers, and
Mm-hmm.
you just grown so much. And like I said at the beginning of this podcast, like it's been amazing watching your journey and just seeing how you've come along. And you've just done such amazing work, and you can see how much you've grown in just the year. And
Yeah.
it's incredible. It's awesome, dude.
Yeah, I did not expect to get this far with everything. So I'm so thankful for everyone who's helped me along the way, all the people who've helped with Morale and all the people in the creative community because it's been a great time honestly, and I'm really happy to be a part of it. So,
Yeah, and to your point, the creative community is pretty unique, and
yes.
I find myself like really drawn to it. You know, the
Mhm.
people are very awesome. We all have this like-mindedness of like we're very creative. We all have really creative minds. We all have this passion of wanting to build something from scratch and making
Mhm.
it our own. And I think there's something so unique about that, to have that kind of like-mindedness with others. And I mean, what's also cool about creative, though it does veer, I mean, Fortnite in general veers a little bit younger, you have people of all ages
Yeah.
participating. And, you know, eventually when you get into featured chat and you see how many people that normally get featured, they're actually in their 20s and 30s. And
Yeah.
it's cool because there's such a different age range. So you have all ages, really. And it makes the community a lot of fun. And you all connect on that level of just being creative and making really cool stuff.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, the creative community is probably my favorite out of all just the different Fortnite communities because you got like the Fortnite community, you got so many different like you got the competitive community, you got the BR community, you got the leaking community, all that kind of stuff. But the
Right.
all these different things. But the creative community I feel like has been the most wholesome and just the most inviting out of all the communities, and it's just
Absolutely. The least toxic for sure.
yeah, and it's great to be a part of it because it's all about just creativity and sharing your creations, and it's not nearly as just it's just a nice place. It's hard to
Yeah,
explain
it's
exactly why,
amazing.
but just all the people are great, and it's
I
so
love the
cool.
creative community. That's why I think I keep going. I mean,
Yeah.
I've had some really weird setbacks, as you know, and and even though I'm, you know, fighting with YouTube and all these things, I could have just
Mhm.
given up. I could have
Yeah.
stopped, but I haven't. And I think it just comes from that draw of I love the community so much that yeah, these things are irritating and there it sucks, but I still love this group so much that I can't just like let it
Yeah.
go.
It's impossible to leave, honestly. Yeah.
I
It's
know.
a it's impossible to leave, especially just because I have so much just playing Fortnite in general, and just as long as I'm making content on it, as long as I'm having fun with it, I don't think I could ever leave this community, and I don't see myself doing that anytime soon. I don't care what happens with my channel. I think I'm definitely gonna stay in this community no matter what, and I'm
Yeah,
excited to be in it. And
I definitely feel you on that.
I'm so excited for the future of creative as well because it just gets better and better and better every single update. And
Yeah, and you know, it's incredible to see where Fortnite is going
yeah,
and this whole Fortnite 2.0, you know.
yeah, which is
Um,
extremely exciting, but also very scary.
I think it's
For me.
scary, but I don't I think so this is what I think. And we can, you know, people feel free to reference back to this
Mm-hmm.
when 2.0 does come out.
Yeah.
This is just based off of if you go into Core Games, have you downloaded Core?
I have not.
It's the free engine that Mustard Plays was
Yeah.
pushing. And he was pushing it for a reason, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
I really okay, and this is just a theory, but I think Mustard is more he makes it seem like he knows nothing, but I do think he knows more than he leads
Yeah,
on
for
to.
sure, for sure.
And I think it was his subtle way of saying, "Hey, if you want to see what Creative 2.0 is, check out Core Games."
Right.
And so if you go in there, it's pretty intimidating. It's
Mm-hmm.
definitely different beast. So I think they're going to have two different versions of Creative. I think they're going to have like Creative 1.0 is still going to exist
Mm-hmm.
in a way, right? And I
Right.
think the fundamentals of Creative 1.0 will always be there, like build, all that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they're going to create, and this is what's going to be interesting. They're going to create stores where you, as a creator, can sell items. I really think this is going to happen. So, like,
Mm-hmm.
you can create, let's say Bendominator, let's say you create a building in Fortnite. All right.
Right.
You can sell that as a prefab.
That would be
I
very
I
interesting.
think there's going to be a store where you can make it like, Bendominator's prefabs or Bendominator's skin, using and this is more advanced, of course, but if you're
Yeah.
somebody that does know a little 3D modeling, you could create like your own version of a rock and make the rock black with like white sparkles in it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like the options will be endless, and then you can sell that rock in the Fortnite Creative store. I think this is coming, and I think this is what Fortnite Creative 2.0 is going to be. It's not going to just be building, it's going to be people creating things for you to build with as
Yeah.
well. So there's going to be like a store as well with a whole different type of creator that's going to birth out of it.
Yeah. And that would be insane for the community just cuz there's so
Yeah,
many creative people already, but just adding the ability to do things like creating your own custom models, and even if you were able to sell them or at least even just upload them to the community so other people can use them.
exactly.
That
You bet your bottom dollar I'm going to be selling the orb.
yeah. Make some profit off the orb.
Right, exactly.
People
I'll
already want
reskin
to
it, of
use it.
course. I'll add
Yeah.
some like unique materials to
You
it,
got to make your own
Um,
particle effects for it and everything.
exactly. But I mean, if somebody's really worried about the future of creative and like, can I keep up? I think the answer is yeah. I
Yeah.
think, like I mentioned, I think there's just going to be different types of creators in the future. You're going to have the people creating materials for the store. You can buy those materials, or some will be free. So I think that it's exciting. Like, if you're not somebody that's going to create the materials, just think about the amount of access you're going to have in the future.
Yeah.
Just like users creating materials, it's going to times 10 the amount of options overnight.
Exactly. There's and even with the additions to creative lately, I think a lot of people and myself have noticed that I feel like creative's been going in more of like a like Roblox games territory where it's a lot of them are now like the more popular ones are like open world games or like role playing games instead of
Hmm.
just combat games, which it used to be. Which there's still a bunch of
Yeah.
combat games. They're still extremely popular, but every time I go into creative now, there's just new like MMO maps and all this kind of stuff. And that's really interesting to me, because I feel like that kind of shows that, especially with Creative 2.0, we're going to be seeing a lot more than just combat maps and 1v1 maps and battle royales. We're going to be seeing like
Well,
full-fledged just experiences.
and you're already seeing it in their main BR, right? Like, I mean, just this season alone, we went into a weird little like uh you're getting abducted by the spaceship, getting
Yeah.
pulled out of BR and into a mini game basically. Like,
Hmm.
I think that's just what they're trying to go for. And I've even seen myself doing it. And like as the save device matures and gets a little better, I really want to use it in my BR for things like collecting gold for items and
Yeah.
stuff like that. It's not there yet. I've been talking to a lot of creators on how to do it now, and it's possible, but it's so buggy that it's like
Yeah. There's a lot
not
of
necessarily worth it.
yeah, and just of course there's a lot of improvements that can be made, but that's kind of the whole thing about creative. It's always improving. It's always evolving. And like if you think back to creative like a year ago, I don't think you'd even be able to make any of these like things like Tiny Town and Prison Breakout and stuff like that. Be pretty
Not at
much
all. And
impossible.
and when people go, oh, like they're like, oh, your Omega Pyramid is dated or whatever. I'm like, well, you have to remember the materials we had back then.
Yeah.
Like, like that was it. There wasn't very many to choose
Yeah, like
from.
obstacle course gallery and like
Exactly.
pleasant park houses, tilted houses.
Exactly. And tilted. And that was pretty much it.
You had to place down like the entire prefab to copy and paste objects. You couldn't put
Oh
it
my
in
gosh.
like
Yeah.
your
I remember
hotbar.
they all look like porta forts. You had to
Oh
throw them.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
That was
Oh my
crazy.
goodness.
And even before
That's
then,
insane.
people in playground mode, they'd make mini games. Like I remember me and my friends in playground mode, we would make like Call of Duty 2v2 gunfight maps,
Oh, right. That's right.
which
I
was
remember
out of just building
that
materials.
when Playground first came out, I would spend hours in there with my
Yeah.
friends. And then when
And it,
Creative dropped, I was like, what?
creative was
I literally had no idea it was coming.
yeah, creative came out of nowhere. It's just like season 7 dropped and they're like, "Oh, here's creative by the way." I think it was like a week earlier they announced it
Yeah,
and did
yeah.
like the a bunch of creators went out to test it out.
And I
And
remember seeing the block being empty. It was
yeah.
just a slab. And I just sat there and I was like, you know what? if I do this now before people figure it out, I have a better chance of
Yeah,
getting featured because nobody knew what it really was. Nobody
exactly.
really understood it. Like you kind of did, but I remember going in there the first like I don't know if you remember like the first week of creative or the first month, but it was so confusing. Like I just
Oh
was like,
yeah.
what is this? And like all people really did was go in and spawn like 1,000 chests because that was just so cool to see. And like, that was basically it. Everyone's
Yeah.
like, wow, there's 1,000 chests next to each other.
That was yeah, and I think some of the reason the mini BR community is so popular is because I think at least myself, I remember going into creative with my friends and the first thing I was like, we could just make a BR map right now. And of course it was terrible because it was like the Meadow Island or whatever, like the original one with like the giant mountain and just placing down prefabs everywhere and calling them
Yeah.
locations. And it's crazy to see over time that just evolved into just this whole thing
Yeah.
like custom terrain, these giant XL thermometer islands with all these different mechanics, being able to
Well,
make
and I think
custom loot pools.
yeah, and so just so you know, I mean, I hear this through the grapevine, but every person I talk to said that you've mastered custom loot pools. Like whenever I
Oh yeah.
ask, where's the best custom loot pool? Bendominator. That's what I get told every time.
Yeah.
So kudos for that. You are the
Yeah.
loot
Thank
pool
you.
king. Yeah, and it's funny. It's been a little controversial on my streams because people ask me
Really.
to do loot pools, and I
Oh
refuse
yeah.
to do them. And they're like, "Why? Like Ben Dominator did it so well." And I'm like, well, then that's his map. Go check it out."
Yeah. I mean,
It's funny.
I've always advocated for custom loot pools. I think as many people should try to do them as possible. And of course, if you don't want to do that, it's fine. I understand. It can
Well, and
be
that's
quite
incredible.
frustrating to do.
Well, and I
But
never said like don't do them. I just
yeah, I
said
know,
I'm
no, no.
choosing not to do them in my BR,
Exactly.
and there's many reasons for it. The biggest is memory.
Of course, yeah.
I really fight for memory. And there are some things that I'm trying to do that would not work with the custom loophole that are, we'll just say season 6 stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. But I'm trying to execute it, but we'll see. I'm always trying to outdo myself.
Yeah.
But it's exciting. And to your point about open world, I've noticed if you may even notice with my battle royale map,
Right.
I'm trying to create more adventure type stuff like the talking gnomes and
Yeah.
little tasks you can do and little things you can unlock. And a lot of that is because I think you know this as well as I do. When people visit your map, sometimes they go in as a solo and it's a
Mm-hmm.
BR, right? But
Right.
they're not necessarily going in because it's a BR. They're going in because it's Ben Dominator's map and they want to check it out. So I almost see myself, what I've started to see my battle royale do is almost become like an open world with a storm.
Yeah.
Like I almost wonder if, down the road I could see our BRs just having like a BR slash open world toggle
Yeah.
type of thing or something. I don't know, but it's interesting, right? And
Yeah.
open world seems to be the hot thing right now, but BRs are still really big. And there's, like
Yeah.
you said, within the creative community, there's also like a mini BR community
Exactly.
as well. It's like a niche within a niche.
Yeah, exactly. Because there's like the mini BR community, and then you've got so many different outlets when it comes to the creative community. Because you got the mini BRs, you got like the 1v1 PvP maps for people who want to like practice and get better. And then you've just
Yeah.
got these casual roleplay maps for people to just hang out and like talk to each other and meet people. And
What I've learned about creative though, and this should help any creator that's like struggling. I know like do you have creative friends that are really good with mechanics but not good with design?
Uh, honestly, when it comes to the Brumerel dev team, we're all really like good at design, but we all kind of suck at devices.
That's so
So
funny. So
that's kind of how it is for us.
I have a few people that are really good with mechanics, and the thing I've been advocating is that's a creator too, right? And you
Mm-hmm.
see this all the time. It's funny enough, don't you ever see these really big featured maps that get on the homepage of Fortnite or Fortnite, I'm not even creative mode,
Uh-huh.
and you go into them and there's zero design, but they're
Yeah.
really good mechanics and they blow up and they're like really popular and I'm like, what the heck? There's no design in this map and I get so frustrated. And
Yeah.
I feel like that happens all the time, but I in a way though, I think it's really good that it doesn't matter how much time you spend on design. If the mechanics work well, that's all that really is needed to make a successful map. And I'm saying this because I think so many people get hung up on design. They're
Honestly,
like, oh, it doesn't look good enough.
yeah, that's something I haven't really thought about much before, honestly, because I remember when like the summer LTMs came out for creative during the summer event, I kind of bashed on a lot of the maps because I thought a lot of them seemed really lazy, but now that you say that, I feel like I can look back and be like, well, yeah, the pit may be just an empty box, but there's a lot of impressive mechanics there, and it's a very fun map, so even if
Exactly.
it,
And so not all maps have to draw you in
yeah,
visually. And so there are I really do think there are two types of creators out there. There are the more mechanical ones and then the more storytelling, visual, creative ones.
definitely.
And I think that's been hard because the mechanical ones get kind of smashed down a lot.
Yeah,
And I did it too for a long time until I had this epiphany of like, wow, no, they know what they're doing
yeah.
because they've created such a good game that the design doesn't even matter.
Yeah, and I think
So
that's
anyway,
that's something more people should think about. That's something I didn't think about, and I'm glad you glad you
yeah,
brought that
it
up.
was a recent epiphany. So I mean,
Yeah.
it definitely wasn't something that I've been thinking about for years or anything. But yeah, it's something I wanted to share because I think there's just so many people out there that are like, I'm not good enough for creative.
Hmm.
I'm just starting now, and people have been doing it for years. And I just try to explain in all my videos that it doesn't matter if you started yesterday or you started 2 years ago and you feel like you hit a wall. Like, just keep going.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you look back at Royale Season 1, even just Chapter 1 as a whole, I know a lot of people like that map, but when me and the dev team look at it, it's just so... There's so much... We can pick out all the things we don't like about it and all the things we didn't like. And that's why I think when we made Chapter 2, and I'm guessing you probably did something similar when you did your Season 5, we were able to learn from all the mistakes we made in the previous map and do it better. And I think
Absolutely. It was a
it's very
do-over.
important.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why
Yeah.
I think that's why doing chapter twos are so popular as well in the mini BR community. It's because so many people. It's not just because Fortnite did it. There's a reason Fortnite did it, and it's to improve upon what they've done before because they
Well,
realized they made a lot of mistakes.
here's where I came up with chapter. Okay, so literally my season 5 is a lot could argue is a chapter 2 season 1.
Hmm.
Um the reason I didn't do it, then I'll tell you what. I know Fortnite Creative 2 or 2.0 is near. I don't
Right.
know if it's near as in September or March or summer of next year. I don't know. But the way I look at it was, you know what? Let's be honest. Most of us mini BR creators are probably going to redo our maps again
Yeah.
when custom terrain comes out.
Exactly.
And so I was saving that moniker, chapter 2, for like when I can create a custom terrain map.
Yeah, that's for sure.
And that was just
Which,
for me. Like,
yeah,
because
that's
I
a good
didn't know,
idea.
because it was coming out in September. I'm like, well, I'll be on chapter 3 in no time, and it just,
Yeah.
for me, it just felt like too quick.
Hmm.
But also, in a way, season 5 was the same locations, just on steroids,
Yeah, just like
And when
improved.
chapter 2 really came out for Fortnite, they didn't keep any of the same locations. It was like
Yeah,
literally a brand new start.
they kept like
And so,
3 of them, and that was it.
exactly. And so I think that's kind of where my logic came in for not naming it chapter 2.
Yeah. Which I think is a perfectly fine way to go about it. I think
Yeah.
the reason we did Chapter 2 for Bromar is mainly because uh we because for me it seems like Creative 2.0 is so far away, and we had it in our mind like maybe it's coming soon, but we just bit the bullet because we just really needed a fresh start and we wanted people to know that this was a big deal, and the way we ended Chapter 1 was such a big thing that I don't think we could have just called it Season 6.
Yeah, I feel you on
Because
that. I feel you.
it was, and there's always a possibility for Chapter 3 or whatever we do in Creative 2.0. We do have a bit of an idea of what we're going to do for that. I think a lot of people have kind of in their head been like, oh, I know what I'm going to do. But it's going to,
Exactly. We're all planning ahead.
a big thing though is it's going to take a lot of time and practice to master Creative 2.0. So I don't know if it's like the best idea to make the map like that be the first map you make in 2.0 being like the next version of your BR map or whatever big map you're making. I feel like
Yeah,
when
I
Creative
completely
2.0
agree.
comes out,
You know,
yeah, I'm just gonna be practicing making smaller maps, making some little projects first,
in
and then
2.0, this is all rumor, but it is out. I know that not out, but it's being tested by some
yeah,
of the bigger creators, and I do think it's going to be delayed. I do think you're right at this point. Like,
hmm
if you asked me when I released season 5, I would have said they're on track for anywhere between September and December. But now
yeah,
I think it's going to be March or summer next year. And then, like you said, then you have to learn it.
hmm
And so, yeah, you're right. By the time you're really into a chapter 3, it's been a year, which is totally valid at that point.
yeah,
Or even 9 months. So yeah, it's there's no wrong way to do it. It's just it's exciting times. It's really cool to be here in the early days,
right,
and I do think that just like we do with our BR maps, Fortnite itself is recreating itself all the time,
yep,
and I see people all the time that haven't played forever come back. Sometimes they don't stay, sometimes they do.
yeah,
But it's interesting for sure. That I like that Epic Games is willing to challenge the game. And sometimes they make it almost to the point where I feel like, oh my gosh, you're going to tank your own game. But they do that because they're trying to push the boundaries, right? Like,
yeah,
if you're not willing to take risk, you don't know what works unless you try it.
that,
And as much as I think the us diehards complain, we're still here.
yeah,
So, there are things about the current season I can't stand, but I'm like, you know what? I'll get through it. There's a new
exactly,
season coming. They're listening to feedback. They're going to do the thing we want, plus they're going to try something that we're not expecting. Because that's the whole
exactly,
point of Fortnite is like they want to be unexpected. And I think as creators, we're doing the same thing. Like Brim Royale, I'm sure when chapter 2 launched, everyone was like, holy cow, like this is insane,
yeah,
like you outdid yourself. So as long as we
exactly,
keep pushing ourselves.
and that's the greatest thing I think about just mini BRs and Fortnite in general. And it, like again, when you say like they've had missteps to learn what they should do in the future. Like I feel like a big example of that is Chapter 2 Season 4, the whole Marvel season. Like I feel like doing that in the process, they wanted to try something. They wanted to try if an entire season based on a collaboration could work. And I
Yeah.
think they realized maybe it doesn't, but they did it and they tried it, so at least now they know for the future. So
It's so sad. Season 4 was one of my favorite
I
seasons.
mean, you're completely. I think everyone's valid their opinion. Some people liked it. It's like love it or hate it kind of situation.
I don't think
Me,
it was anything more than my gang usually lands Craggy, and like it was the
yeah.
perfect rotation to Tony Stark's, like you just
hmm
fly up that way, and like that was a rotation and it just seemed to work really well. So but yeah, that's why I don't know,
Yeah,
maybe it was just, I think a lot of times our views of a season review could also be where we're at with playing the game.
that
Like
is
it was a
true.
really great time with me and my crew, so that also influences your decision
It's a
on a
lot of
season, I feel like.
personal experiences a lot of the time.
Exactly,
It's a lot
exactly.
of
So yeah.
bias. Like for me,
Exactly.
chapter 2 season 3 will always be my favorite. There's a ton of things I like about it. I made a whole video talking about what I like about it. But also, it's just it feels so nostalgic to me because that season kind of hit me in like the summer feels, the summer nostalgia feels, and just me and a bunch of friends had so much fun during that season. And it was kind of the season that I started to get back into the creative and start making YouTube content. So there's a lot of bias with it, but it's I think everybody kind of has their own personal attachment to each season of the game,
Yeah,
and I tend to probably enjoy the seasons more when I have a personal attachment to it, no matter the contents
absolutely.
of it. But everybody has their own opinion about all the seasons. But I think Fortnite knows which ones the majority of the people didn't like, and which things about each season people didn't like. But then sometimes it seems like they don't because they had like the whole henchman thing. I feel like a lot of people complain about henchmen back in season
Right.
2, and they just kept doing it. So it's like, but now people love henchmen, so it's weird, and it's when you think about it like
Well, I
that,
think they
it's hard to
finally
be in
got
there.
it to a point where it's like easier,
I
but
think
not.
I think they made it. better. I think, in my personal opinion, henchmen this season are the best they've ever been, but I'd still rather they weren't in the game.
I
uh,
agree. Yeah, I was somebody said it the other day too. They were like, Fortnite used to be that relaxing game. I think Frost said this, that relaxing game where you can lay in bed and play with your friends.
mhm,
And now you have to sit up and you always have to be like aware. There's
yeah,
always a wolf chasing you, a henchman, an alien baby, something like
yeah,
something is always chasing you, and there's like no downtime. So I think Fortnite started this great place to like just chat with your friends and chill.
right,
And now it's become very like you have to be alert.
yeah. And I think
And
that's
I
why
think
people go
that's
to
where
creative,
yeah, exactly.
and people
That's where
go
the
to,
draw to creative
I
is.
guess, Party Royale to an extent, but I don't know many people who actually
I went into Party Royale
go into
once
Party
with
Royale.
a couple people in my Discord, and I was very confused and bored and just kind of like,
Yeah,
okay, yeah, this is
it
fun. We're
just seems
driving
like
cars around.
it feels like it should be like a creative featured map, but it's just a permanent thing that's always there.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. I don't find myself having any fun.
Yeah. I mean, I'd rather go into like one of the more popular creative MMOs, like Tiny Town or something like that, because those are
Exactly.
fun. Those are fun to hang out in, and there's things to do, which I always appreciate when a map has actual goals to accomplish, and I'm excited to see more maps do that kind of stuff. And
Absolutely.
yeah, we've been talking about this pretty much the whole podcast. I'm gonna have to name this like something creative because this truly is the creative podcast. Um,
So on your
yeah.
podcast, you do everything from BR to Fortnite Creative. Is that correct?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, on my channel as a whole, I talk about pretty much anything Fortnite. I mostly talk about BR, but that's mainly because that's like where most of the news comes from.
Hmm.
Uh, but yeah, this is
So
definitely. I mean, it's fine if we don't talk about BR much because it's anything Fortnite, honestly, anything at all. To be honest with you, if anybody knows this podcast, they know it's just me rambling all the time.
that's
So this
amazing.
this fits perfectly. Just rambling about Fortnite. That's what we do here.
Absolutely. I mean, and there's nothing more I love talking about. And
Exactly.
I think the game is just going to keep getting better and evolving, and Fortnite Creative is getting better. I feel like every
Hmm.
week there's like a 1 year, a 6 month lull where it felt really like,
Yeah.
is it dead? I
That
remember we were all like, I think it's dying.
yeah, that was a weird time because that's when I started to get back into it a lot, and when I started making content back in like chapter 2 season 3, there was like not a lot, but I remember like the Fortilla prefabs came out and people were like, "Wait, hold up. Prefabs?" And then we started getting like some things,
Right.
and then chapter 2 season 6 just a bunch of stuff. We got cars, we got a bunch of new vehicles, all the new
Yeah.
primal weapons. Still didn't get prefabs for the primal stuff, but I'm sure it's coming.
I
Um,
think what happened is there's a lot of things that we don't see that go behind the scenes.
mhm,
Like, I think what happened was that the original design of Creative was great, but it
mhm.
wasn't robust enough for the future. And I think that 6 months they did a lot of under the hood fixing
Yes,
that
for
we
sure.
never saw.
And
And
they,
that's why things broke all the time. Remember
yeah.
every update something would break, but nothing new was out, and we're like, how could you break something? Nothing's happening.
How did you break it? It didn't change.
But I think it was changing. We just
Yeah.
didn't know it. It was just a lot of really boring talk, but source code in the background
Mhm.
to get it prepped and primed for 2.0.
Yeah, and then like they had that whole thing where it was like we're switching to the new physics engine or whatever, like some kind
Yeah,
of new engine,
exactly.
and that I think is the thing that just that's what they
Oh,
were
it
doing.
broke it. It broke it for a while.
Yeah,
But yeah.
but it if that's why they're able to do a lot of the stuff they're able to do is because creative is now on par with BR. Like they're now both using the same engines or whatever. I don't exactly understand all the technical stuff behind it, but in layman's
Yeah, it's
terms,
amazing. It's pretty
it's
amazing.
on par with
I'm very
BR, and
excited to see where it goes.
yeah, and now they're able to just add the new like something that's added in BR, they can add it in like the next creative update like that. And I feel like that's something they weren't really able to do for a long time. I think the release of Chapter 2 kind of messed up creative and they kind of had to, like, they became incompatible. Like BR and Creative became a bit incompatible, and they
Yeah, I
kind of,
think
it
so
was
for a little
hard to
bit.
port stuff over, and then finally, like 6 seasons after its launch, they were able to fully get Creative on par with BR, and I think that definitely paid off because now we
Well, and
have
that's what's,
a ton of cool
yeah.
stuff.
And I think that's what's going to happen with Fortnite Creative 2.0. I not
Yeah,
to crush anyone's hopes and dreams, but I do think it's going to release and it's going to be broken.
yeah, I could see it.
And yeah, I think it's going to be a special island that you load into. You're still going to be able to access your old islands. And then when you choose the custom terrain island or a prefab in 2.0, you're locked into the 2.0 environment. And I think for a while, you'll be able to go to Legacy
Hmm.
Creative.
Yeah.
And there may be some porting tools where you can port your Creative 1.0 island into 2.0, but who's going to want to do that anyway when you have custom terrain?
Yeah.
Because that's going to save you a lot of memory too. I would say like honestly 30% of my memory in my current BR is terrain.
Oh yeah. Terrain is.
When in 2.0, it's probably going to be 5%.
Yeah.
And we're going to be able to build more because we're not going to be spending all our time creating like, oh, is there a hole in the terrain there? Or, oh, we have to put 20 blocks to block that one little hole.
Yeah.
Like, so I think it's going to be a huge deal eventually. But I think the
Uh-huh.
first version is going to be broken. I think everything's going to be odd and the
Hmm.
hitboxes are going to be weird and wonky and
it'll
people are going to die for no reason and fall under the map for no reason. And
it'll
it's
be a
just going to be a
rough
mess.
start. Yeah.
I think so. I think so.
Yeah, because I feel like a lot of games start that way when they're, especially just because I don't know how many other like user generated content games you've played other than Fortnite. But I grew up playing a series known as Little Big Planet, which was all about user created levels and making games. So that was kind of my introduction to things like Fortnite Creative, just making platforming levels all the time in that game. And
Yeah, yeah.
it definitely, just like Creative, it grew over time. Each release saw new additions, and it
I
definitely did
never
start out pretty
was
buggy.
I was never into any of those like Minecraft or any of the user world generated games except for The Sims, but
Oh yeah, definitely.
you're just so stuck in just making houses. But
Yeah,
I've always found myself to be a builder. Like even in The Sims, I would never play the game, I would just build. Or
yes,
I'd
same.
back in, I'd get the hack where I could just get unlimited money and just
That's what
just
I would
build.
just
And
build
that's all I wanted to
houses.
do. Yeah, exactly. And so I've always been a builder in gaming. Like that's
Hmm.
always been a passion. So when Fortnite and I looked at Minecraft and I downloaded it, and for me it was just too blocky. Like
Yeah.
for me to go, oh wow, that build looks awesome. And it's just a personal opinion. I think
Hmm.
Minecraft is really cool and I'm not bashing it in any way.
Yeah.
It's huge and it's gonna be around forever. But I for me, I just didn't like the aesthetics. And
Yeah.
so I just wanted something that was like Minecraft, but with much better graphics. And that's what Fortnite
Yeah.
did. It created that.
Yeah. Especially like I don't think I've ever. I think honestly, building in Fortnite Creative has kind of like desensitized me to building a Minecraft. Like I feel like I can't go back to Minecraft now because of how good Fortnite Creative is.
Yeah,
Uh,
and it's just going to keep getting better. I'm really excited for the new Mutator Zone, so we'll
yeah.
see.
And speaking of Minecraft, it's like Minecraft has all these different servers with all these different mini games, and now Fortnite Creative can have that kind of stuff too. So I feel like I don't want to say it's better than Minecraft because everyone has their own opinions. But
Well, yeah.
there's things like there's these the like Skylands map is like kind of like Minecraft Skyblock, and it's really interesting to see these things kind of people sharing these same like ideas. And if I mentioned Roblox earlier too, because Roblox had a lot of games where it's just you go in and you just hang out and talk to people and you like role play. And Fortnite has that kind of stuff too. So it's expanding like all these different things. And then you still have the 1v1 type maps. You have all these Call of Duty type maps. You have these mini BRs. And Crave 2.0, I don't even know what's going to happen next with that. Like people are going to do some crazy things, I feel like.
Yeah, I think it's going to be absolutely insane and intense. And, there are some real problems with creative still too, and I don't think they're going away anytime soon, unfortunately. The one thing I do like about Minecraft, I do watch Mr. Beast from time to time. I don't, it's just there. I watch it.
Hmm.
And I don't play Minecraft, but I see what he does where he gets 100 people to build in Minecraft.
Right.
And the reason I bring this up isn't because I'm trying to pitch Mr. Beast, but what I'm trying to do is explain that like you can have 100 builders have a square in Minecraft and build. You could not nowhere come close to that in Fortnite Creative. And a lot of
Yeah.
that is because Minecraft is so low quality that you can afford that kind of memory
Yeah.
usage. Is where in
There's no
creative, you're
limits.
really limited still.
Yeah,
You
because
get this beautiful design, right? But you're
hmm
extremely limited. Like, I can't create the map I want to create. And I'm worried that 2.0 is still going to present those problems.
yeah, like I hope at least if they still like, because they're gonna have memory is still gonna be a thing. Memory is a thing in a lot of games like that, other than Minecraft, because Minecraft's limitless pretty much. Uh,
Yeah, because
but
it's so low block count as
yeah,
it is.
it's just so easy to like that game, that whole game, at least like originally was made on Java. So
That's amazing.
it's just crazy that they did that. Of course, that's caused many problems down the line for Minecraft, but this isn't a Minecraft podcast, so we're not gonna get into that.
Right,
But
exactly. But it's important that we talk about it because it's
yeah.
you know that Fortnite is grabbing ideas from Roblox, Minecraft, all of them.
Mhm.
They've basically said, "Oh, Minecraft's doing that, we'll do it too. Roblox is
Exactly.
doing that, we'll do it too." And
Yeah.
so on. So, it's important to bring those up, I guess, to
Yeah,
understand what Fortnite's trying to
for
do.
sure. Cause
And
yeah,
now I think Fortnite bought Core Games, right?
I think so.
I don't know
Yeah,
if they
cause
bought them, but they definitely are
they
featuring the heck out of them.
they are promoting them a lot, which makes me think that maybe something's
I
going on
think
with
that
that.
Well, I think that core is going to be, no pun intended, the core of Fortnite Creative.
Yeah.
I think they're using the core games engine.
If that's the case, then I'm excited because I've seen a lot of cool things in core, and
Yeah.
I'm just it again.
I'm a little bummed though, because those core creators are going to all of a sudden become Fortnite creators,
Oh yeah.
and they're going to blow a lot of us out of the water overnight, I feel like.
I hope core doesn't just become like I hope they don't cancel core for creative or something like that because I think it's important to have core be its own thing still.
I don't by any means think that that's going to happen.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think the only thing that's weird with core is that unlike a lot of these other things, core doesn't have like a game attached to it, at least as far as I'm aware. It's just like a game engine or a game builder.
Yeah, it
It
is just a game builder from what I understand, and the lobby is the only part of the
yeah.
game. They have like a lobby that I loaded into that seemed very Fortnite Creative Hub.
Yeah, like for me, I find it hard when there's no game attached to it to just go in and play other people's stuff. I feel like when you have a game and then you have a create mode within a game, then I'm more inclined to be like, well, I like this game, but let me play things other people have made in the game I like.
Absolutely.
I feel like core, for at least for me personally, it's harder to get like it's harder to be a player in core. It's harder for me to
Yeah.
want to just play games in core. Uh,
The only thing I would say to your listeners too is if they are sitting there going like, I want to be very competitive in Fortnite Creative, which some people have that mindset.
mhm.
I would say download the free version of Core. You don't need to know or master it, but start to familiarize
Yeah,
yourself with it, and you will have an edge on the competition. If
yeah,
that's the way your brain works, if you want to be competitive and you want a taste of what the future holds and you want to get in on it now, get into Core and really start to look at it and understand it. You don't have to master it, just understand it.
yeah. Just get used to it because it's gonna be very hard to learn 2.0 when it comes out. I assume it's gonna be a lot more of a learning curve than creative is already.
I think so, but in a way, I wonder too if Fortnite will push out the features slowly.
Probably.
2.0 may just have a terrain editor, and then eventually the store will come, and then eventually,
Yeah.
it may not all come out at once. So who knows?
I mean, I could see that happening, especially with the way Fortnite does BR. They kind of drip feed us content over time to keep us interested, which I don't think is necessarily a bad thing, especially when you're doing something like
No,
that. It's good to
yeah,
slowly introduce people into it. I'm curious to see what the
especially if it's
first
that
featured maps
complicated.
are.
You don't want. Oh, sorry for talking
Oh,
over you.
no, no, you're fine, you're fine. I was just saying, I'm just curious to see what the first like featured maps are gonna be when it comes to
Well,
2.0.
that's going to be ironic because the first featured maps are going to probably come out the day 2.0 comes out because those play testers have had access to it for so
Yeah,
long.
it's gonna be like a bunch of big creators maps or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. The first round is definitely going to be. The funny thing is, there's big creators, and then there's the creators you've never heard of, but you've played hundreds of their maps, but
Yes,
the name doesn't
yes.
stick. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many. There are career builders that literally make almost enough money from supporter
I
creator
know,
to
right?
not do anything but create full time,
That's crazy.
and they don't have a YouTube presence. So what's amazing about this, and it's interesting to talk about, all they do is design maps. Now, they've never leaked numbers to me. I've talked to a few of them.
Hmm.
But if you just do the math based on, like, for instance, you're going to, and you can't talk about this, but look at your earnings after you've been featured. They're going to spike if they haven't already. They absolutely have spiked.
Right.
And so you just take that, right? And imagine being one of the map creators that gets put on the front page
Yeah, and that's
of
just
not even loading the creative, like those ones that show up at the bottom at the front page. Like, they're making 30 to 40 times what you made in that one week.
yeah.
And then you take on the account that they're probably getting featured 6 to
Yeah,
12
they're getting
times a
featured
year,
all the time.
right? At least once a month. So you're making more than minimum wage
That's pretty
to
good
make creative games.
for making Fortnite maps.
I mean, that's pretty
Yeah.
good. I mean, think about it. You're like, it's pretty amazing. Like, some people out there, and I know this for a fact, Fortnite Creative is what they do for their income.
Yeah.
I'm sure they have some side hustle, but for the main part, that's their job. And it's insane. But the difference though is they don't have a YouTube presence because if they did, they wouldn't have enough time to create games. So you're in this really interesting middle ground. If you want to be a YouTube creator, if you want to just be a Fortnite creative map creator, I want to just bring that up though, because I think there's a lot of people that think they have to be a YouTuber in
Hmm.
order to make good maps or to make it in Fortnite Creative, and that's not true at all.
Yeah. You can definitely just make it based on your maps alone can be enough.
Yeah,
I think it's
but there's a lot of
helpful.
big creators that don't have a YouTube.
Yeah. I mean, for me personally, obviously it's helpful to have content because without me making videos, I probably wouldn't have a code in the first place. Um, but even then, like I guess not, because I did submit the map to be I submitted the map, not my channel, for the creator code program. So it's interesting to see how that works. Because if you guys
Have you
if
were you not you were in the creator program though before you got featured, right?
yes, I
Good.
submitted back when Royale Chapter 1 was a thing. We were way ahead of schedule. So we had Chapter 2, at least an early version of the map. It was kind of different from how it is now. But Chapter
Hmm.
2 was completed, and that was the map I actually submitted for the creator program. And so that is the map that got me my code,
That's
and
amazing.
that's what let me be able to publish the maps. And it's pretty funny that of course it's a different version of the map, but the same map that got me my code is the same map that the first map that got featured that I've done,
Yeah.
which is pretty crazy. And I've seen a few other people, because I know Dreamscape and Tact have had their BRs featured, and
Yeah,
I'm
they
assuming
have.
a few others as well. And
Yeah, and
I'm really
I've
excited.
actually never tried. That's the thing.
Yeah,
Everyone's like, why haven't you been featured? And I'm like, well, they don't know who you are if you don't submit. So,
yeah,
like, you only get featured if you submit, and I haven't
exactly.
submitted anything.
Yeah, and this is the probably the third map that I've submitted to be featured, uh, which is kind of crazy. And I've seen a few other people trying to get featured, and I for sure think that a bunch of creators are going to get featured. And I think this is the time where a bunch of mini BR map makers are like, it is time to try and get featured because
Yeah,
everyone's
well,
improved so much. And I think
they have, but I will say, I watched your chapter 2, season 2, right? Trailer
yes,
before we got on this podcast. And kudos to your trailer, by the way. It's
thank you.
amazing because a lot, and I call this out, and you should link it in your description below.
Hmm.
Because if somebody hasn't seen it on your channel, they need to, especially if they want to submit to be featured. Because
Right.
when I watched it, I looked at it and I was like, holy cow, this is exactly what Epic Games wants. They want a
Yes.
story slash gameplay trailer. I've never made one of those. And so I was in the middle of creating one, and then I saw that you had gotten featured, and I said, "Hey, man, hit me up." If
Hmm.
anything, I think you should take that opportunity to do a video on how you got featured and
Yes.
showing all that
That's a good
stuff,
idea.
because even I came to you,
Right.
and I don't say it like that in oh, even I came to you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean it in a, wow, like you now have you have a key that worked. So
Right.
people want to replicate
People want to
that.
know.
And so you really have an opportunity here to make a video that will show anyone, even, people, with 10,000K plus followers, how to do it, right? I don't know
Yeah.
how to do it. I've never done it. So, you, I think, you should really do something like that. I
Yeah,
would absolutely watch it.
that is definitely a good idea. The one thing is I don't know how much like I know definitely I can give a bunch of tips on how to do it, but there's a lot of things about the actual process of it that I don't know if I can actually talk about. But I think would be very helpful for people to know. I'd probably have to ask to see if I'm allowed. I
Yeah,
don't know how much
yeah.
I'm
I mean,
allowed to talk
you
about the
can be
actual
very
process
vague. Like
itself.
I could even say on this
Yeah.
podcast, like I know that somebody from Epic reaches out to you and you have a conversation with
Yes.
them. You can say those things. You
Yeah.
don't say like at this person in
Yeah.
Discord or something like that.
This specific
Um,
employee.
right, because leave that and
Yeah.
and anonymity, but it's not private. People know that you get hit up
Yeah.
when you're, because you get told, you're going to be featured.
Yeah, exactly.
Which, funny enough, by the way, when the blocks were out, they did not tell you, by the way.
Did they not?
You literally, nope, nobody knew.
Wow.
You literally woke up at the next update and were like, oh my God, I'm in the game.
That's awesome.
It took me
I
waking up
mean,
to my nephew screaming in a text message, "You're in Fortnite."
yeah, that's really funny actually. I mean, I'm sure that's probably not ideal for nowadays, but
Yeah, but keep it vague. Don't obviously overshare. And you're not really sharing
yeah.
so much. That portion of it is like, hey, here's the form. Here's what I put
Yeah,
into link
exactly.
one. This is what, take a look in the description. Here's what I put in link two. I took these screenshots. I put together basically a press kit of my map. This is
Hmm.
what it looks like. This is what I did.
Yeah,
It could be a
exactly.
4-minute video. It's still going to be informative.
Yeah, that's a very good idea. That'll probably be the next video I make actually. So thank you for that
Right?
idea.
It's exactly. Now you don't have to put in your community tab. What should I make next?
Yeah, exactly. Now I
I
could be
feel like
like,
we all do that. We're
y-
like, what should I do next, guys?
it's funny because I've only had the community tab for a little bit now, but it's I feel like that I should take advantage of it more because I've really only been like I've used it like it's a Twitter account. I feel like because
Well,
the Twitter
pro
account for
tip.
YouTube I don't have
Yeah,
something
and a
I can.
pro tip for you, community tab for with some weird reason, if you do polls in a community tab, you get more subscribers and more views on your
That's
videos.
weird. Yeah, I've done a few polls. I've noticed that the polls do better. Like
Polls do better. They're more
they do
engagement. It's a
really
really
well.
quick click and go. People don't like to comment, I've learned. When you do a poll, you realize that only like 5% of the people that comment also did the poll and commented,
Yeah.
but like people don't like to chat. And so the polls have a huge user engagement. And the
Yes.
weirder thing is your polls will get pushed to people that don't know who you are. So if you do in your poll like, hey, should I do a video about BR or creative? And then your third option is, do you even know who I am? Question mark. 20% of them will click that button. Like, who are
Yeah,
you? I always do the like, who are you? LOL. And they
that's
click
funny.
that one and they're like, I've never seen you before. Who are you? I get
Yeah.
that 25% click that. I'm
That's
sure some are trolling, of course,
yeah,
but
yeah.
but there is a percentage of people that it feeds out to that have never seen your stuff before.
See, the community tab confuses me so much because I never see community posts when I look at my YouTube like recommended or my
Really
homepage. I don't see them. I
interesting.
the only time I ever see them is from lately like I've just been like if I'm like on a channel recently, like I remember I looked at one of Cooked Beef's community posts one time, and now that's the only community post I ever see. Is I see Cooked Beef's community posts, and that's it.
Interesting. I must react a lot to them because they show up in mine all the
Yeah,
time.
but I don't see yours. I don't see like any. It's so weird. I don't know.
Weird. That is a little odd.
I don't
I
even know
usually
who
do a
else.
community post when I'm behind on a video and I just want something out
Yeah.
there. All right, I am ready for question round.
All right. It's gonna be the last bit of the podcast. We will be moving on to the questions finally. So, I do have a few questions here from the community post that I made. Fireboy It's a Go on YouTube asks, what made you start making a battle royale?
So, that's a really good question, Fireboy. And I would say the big thing that I wanted to accomplish was seeing if I could challenge myself to create something along the lines of what BR was doing at the time. You know, at the time, mini BR maps were huge.
Mm-hmm.
When I first started. But actually, Battle Royale was not the first map I created. The first ever map I created that was a playable map was actually a box fight map. And
Right.
then from there, I moved on to a Zone Wars map because that was the really big thing. Um, like BRs just weren't a thing yet.
Mm-hmm.
They were, but nobody was playing them. It was like Zone Wars. That's all it was. And then all of a sudden, everyone was doing BRs, and I was like, you know what? I want to challenge myself too. Like, it's going to be crazy because, at this point, my maps were pretty small. My Zone Wars map was made on a prefab terrain island. And
Right.
so I wanted to just go all out and go, you know what? I can do this. And you know what? I'm not even going to use a prefab. I'm custom terraining. I'm doing it all from scratch. And that was it. It was just really to challenge myself to see how far I could push myself.
Yeah. Which I think is a big reason. For me personally, I think the origin of why I made a battle royale map, because I've always been interested in making them
Mhm.
because I just think they're so fun to make. It's just fun to make little POIs and stuff, and
Absolutely.
they're fun to play as well. Um, but Brim Royale just started out of nowhere. It was just a bunch of random people in like a voice channel on my Discord server, and we just all just started randomly building a map. And for better or for worse, it turned out the way it did. But I think we improved on it a lot over time, and
Absolutely. And that's what it
how
is.
that
Like,
started.
I think season one of my BR, for like no joke, 7 months, had no story. It was just a
Oh
BR,
yeah.
and the locations were named after my friends.
Hmm.
And that was it. Like, it was just like the whole idea of my first BR two was I was obsessed with chapter one. I actually didn't like chapter two very much.
Right.
When it first came out, like season
Hmm.
one, chapter two, season one.
Yeah.
So I created this map to kind of be like, hey, if you want to play something that kind of feels like chapter one, here you go.
Yeah.
Here's a bunch of nostalgia for you. Have fun.
Yeah. Which I think is really really cool because if anything, creative is a it's a good way to kind of bring that kind of stuff back, especially with the
Yeah.
type of terrain that you've done, which actually kind of leads into the next question here. Full Moon on YouTube asks, what made you change the style of building for creative? Why'd you go from the old style of building that you did to the new technique? I'm guessing he's talking about like the terrain you
Yeah.
did for
Yeah. So
the old
because I
maps you
used to
knew of.
really pitch like I was known for being the save the world train guy.
Yeah,
And everyone else was using the train I'm using now.
right.
And I just pushed away from it. A lot of the reason for me at the time was the fact that I just liked the design of it. It was very, I don't know, the way my brain works is very like symmetrical, blocky. That's just how it was in the
Mm-hmm.
past anyway. And at the time, I just loved the way the train looked. I love that you could have that when I did my first map. I love that you could have those blades of grass, and it looked
Yes.
so real, right?
Uh-huh.
And when you build with the other type of terrain, you don't get that. Or if you resize the grass pieces, they just look ugly, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I stayed away from it. And as you know, even if you do the new terrain and you put the patches of grass down, you cannot pick up items if they drop in that patch of grass. It's
Yes.
a bug.
Yes.
So I just was like, look, this whole thing is great. Like, it looks awesome, but I wanted that realistic
Yeah.
grass feel. Now, the problem became it was eating up so much memory
Yeah.
that over the seasons, I started removing the grass.
Uh-huh.
And by season 4, that grass was gone. So then I was like, well, the entire reason I went with this technique was for that grass. And it's been stripped away from my map
Mm-hmm.
completely. There's no reason to be playing this using the style anymore. So
Yeah.
that was the reasoning to switch to the new style.
Yeah. Honestly, I think both styles work out really well. I One thing I will say about the old Save the World style is it's very, I don't know, because I've never really used it a ton, but from what I understand, it seems like it would be but like less buggy to work with. I don't know if that's wrong because I know you probably have a lot more experience with it. I don't know how many
Working,
bugs you've encountered with that, but
I used to think that, and I was really advocating that, and they're equally as bad.
okay.
Yeah. Um, yes and no. It's a little less buggy, but then there's all these other issues because like the least buggy prop to build with are the ones that are in the indestructible gallery.
Mm,
But if you've ever used them, the indestructible gallery props are also or terrain are also extremely difficult to work with because they're only indestructible if they're on prop off, turn to prop off.
right.
If you put them on origin center, they're breakable.
Yeah.
So it just I don't know. I just don't like them.
Yeah. It's weird.
I just they're both buggy. I
Yeah.
used to not think that, but yeah, it's equal at this point.
Yeah, because I was always kind of under the impression that the Save the World terrain was a bit less buggy, but then because we've used it a bit like for certain locations in Brumoral, we have snowy streets, which we've had some problems with that kind of terrain there, and it's always a mess. Just both styles of
Yeah.
terrain. It was really bad on chapter 1 of our map, but
Any Fortnite custom terrain creator will know that terrain is a mess, period, in the
yeah.
current state of Fortnite.
It's
And I don't care how big of a creator you are, you're going to have bad terrain.
yeah.
Um, and that is just facts. And it's not the creator's fault at this
Yeah.
point. It's buggy.
And you can make it look really good, but there's still only so like natural you can make it. Like even the best mini BR terrains still don't even compare to actual Fortnite, of course, because there's no
Right,
terrain
of
editor. It's
course.
all
Yeah, they're using an actual terrain editor, and
yeah,
they've showed it off in that one Q&A with Tim Sweeney, on how they do it. But it it's just not something we have access to at the moment.
yeah.
And they did say we're gonna have access to like a bare bones version of it, which is still gonna be different and advanced
Hmm.
for us, but bare bones for a programmer.
Yeah.
So
So I'm excited for that because I think
yeah,
terrain's like the biggest thing that
yeah,
so I think everyone in the mini BR community is just waiting for custom terrain because people have been asking for it for so long, and
absolutely.
I'm really excited to see what happens with that. So moving over to Discord, I have a question from Advil asking, why do you choose to make Fortnite creative content?
It's a good question. I mean, for me, it's because I have the creative mindset. So, I've thought about doing BR content.
Hmm.
Um, it People have asked me to do BR content. I just don't know personally what I could add value wise to BR that's not already out there. Um, if anything, I would just do more kind of fun type of stuff in BR, like challenging my friends to a shoot off. I don't know. Something it would
Yeah.
be more like that, but like I don't know if I would necessarily be like, here's the new updates in season 8. Like I don't find myself I did a few of those videos and they tanked, to be honest. So I
Hmm.
did like a battle pass reveal trailer back when it was chapter 2, season 3, the lowest view count of all time for any video I ever made. So any BR content I seem to make just doesn't sell. So
Yeah.
I think that was kind of I tried it and nobody watched it. So I just stuck to what I knew people wanted me to do.
It's it's just unfortunate because that's kind of the way YouTube works. I've seen a lot of people who either make creative content or make BR content try to do creative or try to do BR. But pretty much with YouTube, what you're known for is what you're known for, and that's what people expect from you. Um, so at this point, like, I'm lucky the Morale stuff even does as well as it does because I know most people are on my channel for Fortnite commentaries. Like that's what
That's
people
awesome.
subscribe for because that's what I make majority, and I'm super happy making it. But I know for a fact that if I tried to switch to something like creative, or tried to make like something like that, it wouldn't do as well because YouTube, you gotta do what the people want, of course.
Yeah, otherwise YouTube stops feeding your content, right?
Yeah,
So I think that's part of the reason my growth was so well is just I stayed in my niche. I
yeah,
didn't break from it. I'm trying to get, the channel does seem like it's a little flat lately in the sense of like it's just tutorials and me streaming with people. And so I am trying to work right now on some more creative content, and creative
hmm,
meaning like the way presented on
yeah,
YouTube.
yeah,
Because we all need to do that, right? As
exactly,
YouTubers, we have to rebrand ourselves. So it's like, yeah, I watched 2 years of Pete talking about tutorials, which is great, and I still do that. That's a staple of what I do. That's what got me where I am.
hmm,
But just like Mustard Plays, I think he was a tutorial guy that then became more of a entertainer, you
yeah,
know? And it's just the evolution of our YouTube channels, right? And
yeah,
so where I'll go next is anybody's guess. I don't know. It's you just have to keep trying new things, and then when you see that that thing is working well, you stay with it.
exactly, yeah. And me personally,
And I
I've been.
think that's yeah,
Oh
good.
no, you're fine. Uh, but me personally, I've just been trying to kind of improve the quality of my content more because the thing is the problem is that I try to make videos as often as possible. I try to make everything needs to be topical in the Fortnite world, you know. You got to be on top of things. And I've always been someone who kind of strays away from talking about everything because if I don't find something interesting, I'm not going to make a video on it. Because I want to have fun making content. Um but something I found is that I've been trying to make some more like highly edited, more high quality videos with more like jokes, better written scripts, but they take a really long time. So it's like I upload a ton of like my usual content, and then about once every 2 weeks I upload this like really like highly edited, like much improved video that I want that to be the new norm, but
Yeah.
it's a lot of
It's
time
hard with
into
that,
that.
especially if you don't have a team. It's very hard. Like when I watch these really big creators, I go, wow, I want to do that. But the thing
Yeah,
is, you don't realize that there are 10 to 20 people behind the scenes working with them. They have a
exactly.
writer, they have an editor, they have all the things.
Exactly.
And so it's hard. Like and the funny thing is it's not even easy to find anyone. Like I've been looking for an editor now for 6 months. Still haven't found one.
Yeah.
I've been looking for a writer. I've been looking for somebody to do my thumbnails. I've never found anyone that can at least do is equal to me.
Exactly.
It
And you
needs to at least be as good as I'm doing now.
yeah, and they gotta
Like
match your style too, because everyone.
exactly. Like a few editors gave me some stuff and it was good, but it was so not my style. And I'm
Yeah.
like, guys, this is awesome for somebody's YouTube, just not mine. Like I'm a
Exactly.
tutorial YouTube channel. Like I can't have people screaming out of nowhere. I get the editing style. It's fun. It's kitschy, and I've seen it in other videos. But it's like you can't really throw that into a tutorial when people are pausing and replaying the video because you're gonna
Exactly.
you're gonna cause their ears to bleed.
Exactly. Uh, but yeah, that's just the content struggle, I guess.
Right?
Um,
Yeah, it's definitely the struggle.
but it's all worth it in the end, I think.
Absolutely.
So one last question I think we'll do for today. I know there was a lot more questions, but I don't want to take up too much time. I think,
You can ask, I mean, it's up to you. You can ask a
yeah,
couple more if you want.
yeah, I just should probably start wrapping up around this point, but I'm gonna ask one more very, very important question. This question
All right.
comes to us from Dramatron, and he asks, "What is Pete's opinion on cheesy garlic bread?"
Uh, cheesy garlic bread, 10 out of 10. I love myself some cheesy garlic bread.
There you go.
And yeah, I definitely will never say no to cheesy garlic bread.
There you go. Now you know, everyone who was wondering. That's his
That was the
opinion.
one everyone was waiting for. I know
That's
that.
what we had to make them wait through the entire. They had to wait till the very end just to know his opinion on cheesy garlic bread. But yeah, any closing things you want to say before we wrap things up here?
Yeah, if you stayed along this far in the podcast, thanks for staying this long and
Mm-hmm.
listening to the whole thing. You guys are awesome, and my message to all of you is just keep on going. Whether you have 50,000 subscribers, you have 50 subscribers, if you don't even have a YouTube and you just want to be a builder, all of those things are possible. You don't need to have a social platform to be a great builder and to make a living building. And you also, if you are a YouTuber, I started with 50 subs, so did Bendominator. So you will grow, you will get better. Just keep challenging yourself. And if you feel like people aren't watching your videos, don't complain about it, but just look at it and start to dissect why. There is a reason why. And so just keep working on it. Don't give up, and you'll make it. You'll do well.
Yeah, and I'll say the hardest thing to do is probably just to start. And if you're not
Starting
starting,
is the hardest.
yeah,
It is.
if you're not starting, then you're not gonna make it anywhere. So if you want to
I would
make
even say,
content,
yeah,
just start doing it. If you want to make maps, make videos, no matter what you're doing, just start doing it now.
my
Because the
first video was the hardest. And it
yeah,
was the most basic. Like if you watch it now, you're like, really? But at the time, it was just you're scared. It's scared. You're scared to post a video for the first time. You
uh,
don't know if you're doing it right. You don't know if your recording equipment's correct. Like it just so many like variables. But yeah, just do it. Doesn't matter if it's good or bad. Just do it.
just do it. That's all we can say. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching yet another episode of the Bendominator Podcast. Again, thank you so much for Directing Pete for joining me on this episode. This has been a
For sure.
really great episode. I hope you guys enjoyed this one a lot. And yeah, we're just gonna leave it there. So again, thank you guys so much for watching the podcast. I hope everyone has a great rest of your day. I'll see you guys in the next podcast, and goodbye.